Welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day, and I'm going to say it now, Happy New Year, because tomorrow is New Year's Eve, and then we're going to be going into 2025. So this is the last countdown, the last list of 2024, and very fitting that on this last list, it is my personal worst top 10 Transformers of 2024 in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share. Of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel a member. So 3 weeks ago we did, was it 3 weeks ago? I guess 3 weeks ago we did the fan voted best of 2024. And that was pretty easy because 2024 was a strong year with a lot of good bots. Then the following week we did the fan voted worst Transformers of 2024, which was a lot more challenging because 2024 was a strong year of releases. Then last week, just before the Christmas holiday, we did my personal best of 2024. And today we're going to do my personal worst of 2024. I thought about altering this list ever so slightly because, of course, by now I have now opened whatever I was going to get, you know, from Santa Claus and whatnot. But because I said last week that whatever I get for Christmas will actually count in 2025, I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to stick to that and not include it here either. So anything during, say, the last week of 2024, like that Christmas week of 2024 that I may have gotten, will not count on this list. It will count on the 2025 list. Because this was a year of very strong releases, unlike the best list, there will be times here when we will revisit certain molds that got re-released this year because they're just so bad that, you know what, they're so terrible that why don't we berate them twice. Some of the worst ones that did not make it on the list, but kind of deserve some dishonorable mention, if you will, would be the Comic Universe Flame. A lot of people complained about that, much like with the Gamer Megatron, because if nothing else, they said the transformation feels like you're cramming everything together. And of course, he has that nub on the back of his knee that keeps the knee from going 90 degrees. I guess I get the gripe about the transformation. I like it, but it can be finicky. As for the nub behind the knee, cut that thing off. I don't know why it was molded there. It was a bad design choice. I love Flame, but I absolutely positively understand the gripes surrounding him. You may also see me looking down here because I'm looking at the dishonorable mention. So we have Flame. Also worth noting, the Doom and Destruction Bludgeon, because it really doesn't look like Bludgeon. I get that it looks like Stormbringer series or whatever it is, Bludgeon, with half his face gone and stuff, but when people think of Bludgeon, that's not what they think of. I adore the mold. I use him under a different name. I believe I use him as Plunder. And Plunder or Pillage? I think I use him as Plunder. I have it written down anyway. And I have him as part of my Starseeker crew. So he's with Thundertron and the lads, right? But I understand the gripes there because when I saw it, I was like, okay, neat. But it doesn't look like Bludgeon. Plus, that's the only version of that mold, not my Tarn, not my two, I guess, Cyberverse Tarns, though I call them Perfect Decepticons that I have to flank Tarn as like his soldiers, and not any of those. And I didn't review, but I did handle a version of the mold that was the regular Bludgeon. None of them have any issues for me with the chest popping off, but the Doom and Destruction Bludgeon, every time I transform him, his chest pops off. And Studio Series 86 Scrap Heap. I love the Junkions. I love the Junkion motorcycles, but Scrap Heap, because of his chest, is easily the most finicky for me to transform. I find that the other uses of the mold, being Junk Pile or Junk Heap or whatever his name is, and Wreckgar, of course, transform very smoothly. But for some reason, Scrap Heap doesn't. The yellow chest looks really cool, but I do find that he gets really finicky trying to go to motorcycle mode. So they didn't make the list, though they do have little gripes to them. Who did make the list of worst Transformers of 2024 for me personally? Remember, my list looks different from the fan voted one. It'll look different from yours because we all have our own. This is super duper subjective, but we're still going to do as we always do and kick things off with number 10, Burst. Coming in at number 10, we have a character that's not even bad. He's really not. He's not bad at all. But it's a gripe that I've talked about before when this mold was used for a different character. This time around, it's Prime Breakdown. And I griped with the use of this mold for Bulkhead and said it doesn't look like Bulkhead. It's a great mold. It just doesn't look like Bulkhead except for the head. In this case, I feel like the mold does better match Breakdown. But it's still wrong. If you know what Breakdown looks like, really, like, his hood should be his chest, and it should be compressed. This guy doesn't even have a hood because it's all flat. So we get the whole front that I guess is correct, but we don't have the big grill. You can get an add-on kit for that, but, I mean, he doesn't have it. It's, again, a great mold. Really great mold. But why you would choose to use this for Bulkhead and Breakdown, I don't know, because it really doesn't fit either character. That said, if you're happy with the Bulkhead, you really owe it to yourself to have the Breakdown to go with him. This is a case of him appearing on the list because of inaccurate look to the animation, and that's it. The articulation's great, the transformation's great, even the paint on him is great, and the color's great. It just doesn't look like Bulkhead to me. And for that reason, he takes the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9 is one that I didn't discuss last year because I didn't have it. In fact, I was never going to get it until Starscream Wife picked it up for me. And it's 86 Frenzy. And I know what you're going to say, what? 86 Frenzy? But he looks just like the cartoon. And he does look just like the cartoon. I am putting this guy on the list for one reason. It's the exact same reason I would have put Rumble on the list last year. You have something in the modern day that's modern line, and it doesn't have elbows. Why does it not have elbows? We know that it can be done. We know that it exists because you did it with the Autobot cassettes. There's no excuse here why this guy couldn't have had elbows. It is an unforgivable oversight as far as I'm concerned. Bad enough because I'm an articulation guy. I think not having elbows in the modern day is bad enough that it was able to land this guy at the number 9 slot for Worst Transformer of 2024. Coming in at number 8, we go to Core Class and Tazmania Kid. Don't get me wrong, I like this Core Class, and I'm really happy to have Tazmania Kid in my collection. And honestly, I love the look of this guy. I think that they homaged it pretty well. Granted, the shoulders got too much gray on them, but it's not bad. I think the transformation is pretty neat, but the problem is that there's a lot of gaps left if you don't have everything just absolutely perfect. And I find that even if you do have things just absolutely perfect, in his alt mode, he really doesn't have any articulation worth talking about. And if you do move some things, it tends to kind of knock other things out of the way, at least on my copy. I really like this guy. And granted, I mean, like, wide range of motion there with the T-posing and the splits, right? I don't not like this guy. I just have niggling little gripes. Like, I feel like his arms are a bit too long. I feel like his hands are a bit too... Having them open, I get it, it's for transformation, but they look weird, and they kind of function really strangely, too. My gripes with this guy are minor, but they're there, and I can't really put my finger on it. I just know that it's enough that, as much as I like Tazmania Kid, there's something about him that just really gets on my nerves. And I guess for that reason, I have to put this guy on the number 8 slot. And now we come to number 7. And number 7 doesn't confuse me as much as Tazmania Kid. Number 7 is, stick with me now, Legacy United Chase. And you might say, what? Chase? Chase is on here for 3 reasons. 1, On my copy, the shoulders absolutely have zero friction, none. If you move it down, the whole armature's coming down. I get they're supposed to friction up and like stay held up. Neither side. Neither side. It works a little bit better on Prime Cliff Jumper, which is why he's not here, and this guy is, but not a lot. I also wish that these two pieces right here could fold back out of the way further or something, because when I do try to articulate the shoulder and the arm, I do find that they get in the way and the shoulder gets kind of caught up. I don't like the shoulder mechanism. I don't like the way the backpack is handled. I don't like the fact that his head feels like it's down in his chest. It's like it needs to be up higher. Dude needs more of a neck. And when doing the transformation, honestly, folding these pieces down, I feel like I'm going to break something. I like everything from the waist down on this guy, but from the waist up, especially the shoulders and this kind of backpack, I find to be a disastrous mess. I don't enjoy the transformation, though I do like the resulting car mode. And in robot mode, while I'm glad to have a version of Rescue Bots Chase, because I kind of really like Rescue Bots, I'm really disappointed with how lazy and unfinished the design of the shoulders seems to be. There should have been something to lock them in, and how lazy and unfinished the backpack is, because these should have moved out of the way more somehow. Or, if not move out of the way, somehow, like, I don't know, fold down or fold in around to fill in the hollowness that's right through his body. Chase feels like an afterthought. And that's why he appears on the worst list at the number 6 slot. No, GotBot, that's not right. That was the number 7 slot. Now is the number 6 slot. I got ahead of myself. Sorry about that. And at the number 6 slot, we stick with Legacy United and this guy. It is RID Sideburn. I think that Sideburn was more of a success than last year's Shadow Striker, which also appeared on last year's list. But I'm not going to pretend that this guy's perfect, because he's not. I think the robot mode is pretty spot on, honestly. I think it's a great robot mode. So is the original, naturally. However, the alt mode is still too stylized. It doesn't look like he did in the show if you look at it next to the original. This is one of those cases of the original is still fantastic, and if you have that, you absolutely don't need to upgrade to this. It's not an upgrade, it's just a different take, a less accurate take. He's fine. He's fine. But in a year that was fantastic, being fine isn't good enough. And that's why he takes, not the last guy was number 7, but that's why he takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd, because we've reached the ever coveted, ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we, funny enough, have a mold that appeared on the best list, but I don't think the mold reuse was quite as successful. I'm talking about Nucleous. And don't get me wrong, I like Nucleous. I love the gold and the silver on this guy. I even like the mohawk head sculpt. But I do find that the lower legs have a poor tolerance compared to Magnus. This leg in particular loves to fall off. And while he has like this piece and this piece that are his batons, I suppose we would call them, they really don't have anywhere to store when they're not in his hand. So I had to bulk up the legs even more by moving the tire pieces to the side so that I could access this peg hole back here to try and stick that in. But again, it doesn't stay toleranced well. That said, I love the alt mode. The transformation is still, I guess, fine to get to the alt mode. I just feel like these club things weren't the right way to go. I really don't. And I do find his chest tighter than it is on Magnus. Almost scary tight here compared to Magnus. So this is everything Magnus was, but a little worse to wear for it. I don't know if you'd call it mold degradation or what, but the remolding I don't think was to its benefit, and the tolerances being a little more loose than they were on Magnus means that this guy doesn't turn out to be as rewarding. I expected better because I love Magnus. I expected to love this, and I didn't. And that's why he takes the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, we go to Earthspark and Terran Jawbreaker. The Deluxe Jawbreaker. Honestly, I think I like the Warrior more. I get that it's smaller in Dino mode than this is. Quite a bit smaller. But I feel like the transformation on that is not only easier, but I feel like it is clever. This, I'm like, why is his tail always on the back? Why couldn't you fold that up somewhere? I feel like the color, well, I don't feel like, the colors here are much more inaccurate to the animation than the Warrior class one is. The Takara Deluxe is the closest to the animation. When it comes to articulation, this guy doesn't really add much more than we get with the Warrior, honestly. Like, I don't know. For Deluxe, I expected more of a difference than we got with the Warrior. I guess we have a little bit of an ankle tilt. That's neat. And the jaw of the dino opens and closes, but I thought the head was going to move left and right. It doesn't. Other than that, the articulation is pretty darn comparable. I just find that I have more fun with the Warrior class one than I do with the Deluxe. Make of that what you will. This guy's not bad. It's just, I think, where I like the Warrior so much, I expected the Deluxe to just have so much more. Plus, I find that the Warrior stands up better in Dino mode. I find this guy likes to fall over in Dino mode. Make of that what you will, but yeah, this guy takes the number 4 slot. Top 3 worst Transformers of the year. Coming in at number 3, and this guy never gets old. If there's going to be a bad list, this guy's going to appear on it. And I'm not going to give any explanation because number 3 is Ravage. It's the Ravage cassette that came with Legacy Soundwave. Legacy Soundwave, by the way, him with all 3 of his cassettes only clocks in at a Voyager mass. So that's literally a Voyager that they sold as a leader. So he's excellent, but he's not a leader class at all. And that's one of those things, much like Siege Shockwave. Siege Shockwave is excellent, but I felt ripped off by Hasbro, so I promised myself then I'll never ever buy another Shockwave, and I haven't. Well, I feel the same way now about Soundwave and his cassettes. I feel like the Legacy United was such a ripoff that that's fine. Do all the Soundwaves you like, but you're never getting a penny from me again for another Soundwave because you took advantage of me once. And this isn't even good. This is Ravage. We all know this is junk. Let's just throw that down there and move on to number 2. Number 2 was the fan-voted number 1, and it's 86 Steeljaw. This thing's junk. It shouldn't have been sold as its own core class. It needed something else with it, not just one speaker. I think it needed 2 speakers. The fact that you got to parts form the back in order to really get it to look animation accurate bugs me. He has blue eyes. He should have gold eyes. Gold like we have gold here. But I'm not complaining about the blue because I think the blue is, Autobot accurate. I'm glad inside his mouth is painted. I like the little thing that they do with the head, but like, where's the gray on his paws? What's up with the limited articulation? If this had been with Blaster as an accessory, I'd have been like, okay, he's in as an accessory, I guess. It's why I accept Ravage, even though he's terrible. But this was its own thing and sold as its own thing. And it's awful. It doesn't even really fit in Blaster, though I have heard it fits better in Twin Cast. Make of that what you will. A transformation, lackluster subpar articulation, and inaccurate paint all conspired to make Steeljaw one of the worst of 2024. And for me, he takes the number 2 slot. And now here we are at the very tippy top, number 1 for worst Transformer of 2024. This was part of a multi-pack, and I think it's embarrassing junk. Number 1 is Legacy United Ozone. The little Target Master that came with Windsweeper. Let's get a couple of things straight. Windsweeper isn't supposed to be a double Target Master. Windsweeper is a trigger con, which means the 2 silver blasters on Windsweeper's arms are just supposed to fold out over his hands. I'm fine with them revisioning him as a double Target Master. They used the needle nose mold with it, and honestly I thought about using needle nose Target Masters, but I said, you know what, I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to use either of them because they are actual characters and they are painted accurately, at least. And then I thought about it, and I said, I'm going to go with Windsweeper. But again, following my own rule that I extolled everybody else of one vote, right? One person, one vote. I said I can't just say the Target Masters. That's not fair. That's a group. I'm not following my own rule. I said I can't just say Windsweeper's Target Masters because that's more than one. So I said, which one of them wore, I guess, the idea worse of being a made-up Target Master because the mold was there? And I went with this guy, Ozone. Because at least Clean Sweep ties in with cleaning a lot more. And I get that Ozone is great for cleaning and like oxy stuff and whatnot. But like, when I think of Ozone, I think of like the ozone layer. So I think more space than anything else. And I chose this guy because zero articulation. I mean, there's your trash transformation. One step. And honestly, he's even like holding, he's even holding a sword or a blaster or something down by his side. He can't do anything with it. But the worst thing about this mold, besides for being no better than G1, besides for being all silver, both him and the spaces like between his legs and under his arms and stuff, all being just blasted with silver, no other color. I guess there's a black on his face, but basically being so monochromatic. Besides for being used up, besides for being no better than 40 years ago, besides for a lazy transformation, the thing that bugs me the most about this release is the peg handle is down between his ankles. It's not even on his chest. It's not even part of the robot. It's just between his feet. I hate this. And that's why it takes the number 1 slot. And there you go, man. 10 down to 1 once again. I'm sure that you have different gripes with different characters. Thank you so very much for coming by here. I don't have follow-ups like we normally do because this was my own list. Remember, this is the last list of 2024. So I'm going to say it again now. Happy New Year. I hope 2025 is nothing but spectacular for you. Thank you for coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable holiday time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you are at it, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel, and don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way, right here inside the videos.